All right, class, everybody take your seats. Simmer down, simmer down. We got some things to talk about today. Now, I want to start off immediately by talking a little bit more about what's going on with the Blizzard lawsuit, because in an earlier episode, I spoke about some things that hadn't come out yet, and some more stuff has come out. So I just want to clear up some of that. So apparently, this shit went all the way to the top in terms of the harassment and the treatment and the things that were going on. The executives did know about it, and that was one thing that I mentioned in the earlier episode. I just wanted to clear it up in case anybody was confused or thought I was an idiot. It's okay to think I'm an idiot, but I did just want to clear it up because I said, if the CEO knew about these things and he was part of it, then fuck that guy. And we can, without a doubt, now say definitively, fuck that guy. He is an absolute shitter, okay? Huge shit pile. Bobby Kotick, a.k.a. Bobby No Dick, is just as bad as all of the quote-unquote bad apples that are working there. That's a horrible expression, by the way, and I wish it would stop. Chris Rock has a bit about how people talk about the police and the bad apples in the police, and he said that's a cute name for murderer. He says, I've had a bad apple before. It was tart. That's such a bad expression for the shit. That's such a horrible comparison for the types of shit that is going on. Calling somebody a bad apple is giving them too much cuteness. We'll just go with that. It makes it sound a little less harsh than the shit that they're doing, and it's pretty bad, man. It's pretty bad. Some text messages came out from a group chat. Now, granted, I understand completely, okay, that group chats and text messages they're meant for the people that are in the group, right? I'm sure that some of you listening to this have had some chats with people that you know very closely, and you've said some shit that you would never in a million years say in real life, right? But that's because you trust those people and you talk to those people differently than you would the public. I totally get that part, okay? But if it's a group chat with your work or people that you know from work, maybe don't talk about taking women to the Cosby suite. Maybe don't mention fucking all of them. Maybe just shut the fuck up. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm asking too much. I don't think I am. I have no desire to get in a group chat with people that are coworkers and talk about, talk to them the way, like, college kids talk to their roommates when they're about to go to a bar. I have no desire to do that. And I mean, I went to college. I, have lived with guys and been young once. I am still relatively young, but I don't talk the same way that I did when I was in college about to go to a bar, or like if I've taken 7 shots of tequila. You know what I mean? Like, whenever you're going to a bar and you're a single guy, and you're talking about like, oh yeah, dude, let's fucking let's go to this party, or let's go meet these girls or something like that. Like that's one thing, right? But whenever you're a grown ass man in like your 30s, 40s, and 50s, texting your coworkers in a group chat talking about fucking all the women at your company, maybe don't do that. And apparently the Blizzard CEO, this Bobby Kotick, however the fuck you say his name, we're going to call him No Dick. We're going to stick with that. Mr. Bobby No Dick apparently he knew about a lot of this stuff, and his name was actually brought up in the famous Epstein's Black Book, where like whenever they leaked all of the stuff from Epstein's like pedophile island, where the one with all the big names in it. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to end up like fucking I'm not important enough, but I'm an easy target. I'm an easy person to get rid of. You guys can Google that. Epstein's Black Book. There's a lot of big names in there. A lot of big celebrities, some presidents, some very important people that were on said island. Apparently, Mr. Bobby was he frequented there. I think it was like 4 times or something. So fuck that guy. Sleazeball shit pile. Okay. So like I said in that previous episode where we were talking about the lawsuit, if he knew about it, fuck that guy. He did know about it, so fuck that guy. I don't think anything else has to be said about it. There's some awful things. There's more things that are continuing to come out as people are digging a little deeper, as people are pointing the finger. And now whenever people get the finger pointed at them, they try to defend themselves through all sorts of horrible ways. And the fact is, man, sometimes you do some shit, and that's what it is. You did some shit. You can't take it back. You can't say sorry. I mean, you can. And I think that's one of the big issues that people have right now is Blizzard is being accused of these things, and these executives are being accused of these things, and they're doubling down on the fact that they didn't do it. So they didn't even say sorry. They're like, we didn't fucking do anything. What are these, allegations? Again, this has been investigated for like 2 years now. Not really allegations anymore. It's more of, hey, you fucking did this. Maybe, I don't know, say sorry. Maybe. But, they don't want to admit guilt. That's what a trial is for. And as I alluded to before, I don't think anything's actually going to change from it. And I hope Blizzard gets fucked, but Activision Blizzard, I should lump them in with this as well. It's not just Blizzard, it's Activision Blizzard. And I hope these other companies get fucked too, because the fact is, dude, it's a shitty place to work. It's a shitty environment to work. You've got a bunch of fucking losers that sit around and talk about fucking women because they're dogs. I mean, and now there's people sharing stories. Sweet Anita, she is a Twitch streamer that has gotten very popular over the years. She was talking about her time in school for game design. I myself went for computer science, so I was in a lot of programming classes. I initially had went to go for game design and things like that, and her experience lined up with my experience, except for I was on the flip side of it. I was in most of my classes. Most of my programming classes had no women. The most I ever saw in one of my programming classes was 2. 2. And one of the women was like 60 years old. She was just interested in computers. You know how colleges have that program where like old people can come and take courses for free? That's what she was doing. She was just interested in how computers worked, and she was like 60 years old. But there was only one, so like, if you want to take her out of the equation, I only ever had one other girl in my programming classes. And she was saying that she was the only one in most of her game design classes, and her classmates were fucking horrible. So she was, sharing some of her experiences and things like that, going through school and in game design and things like that, and her classmates were terrible. Terrible fucking people. And now the discussion is being brought up. Do communities of gamers garner or like create these fucking socially inept losers? And I say that's not the actual argument. The actual argument is do gamers not know how to treat women? And the short answer is it's not everybody. Right? It's not all men. It's not all male gamers. But it is a community of people that absolutely do not understand how to treat women. And if you want my own opinion, you're going to hear it because it's my podcast. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that my generation specifically was raised so that our parents didn't have to interact with us. There's this long-standing thing that boomer parents were like the worst generation of parents because they had it, a lot of them had it so easy and they had everything handed to them. The economy wasn't shit, and all sorts of things. And so they grew up and they became very selfish. That's the narrative. That's not what I came up with. That's something that you can even look up for yourself. This is something that people have been talking about for a very long time, is that the boomer generation is very selfish in a sense, that and you can even see it whenever people are arguing online about between the generations, boomers and millennials and Gen Z and Gen X and all this shit, right? Like, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. But you see how much, like, quote unquote, boomer people blame millennials for not buying houses, even though the housing market is the worst that it has ever been, ever. They complain that millennials want more money and they want the minimum wage to go up, even though minimum wage has not kept pace and pay raises have not kept pace with the inflation of the U.S. dollar. So you see what I'm talking about? That was just some context. That's not my thing. I think it makes a lot of sense. And obviously, again, we're not speaking in black and white here. Whenever I say these things, I don't mean all boomers are bad. I don't mean all boomers were horrible parents, okay? I mean that my generation, the amount of people that I went to school with, that I hung out with, that I knew personally, that were raised by Xbox Live is fucking insane. I know kids that dropped out of school to play RuneScape. I know kids that got left at home for weeks on end while their parents were gone doing God knows what, and they were left at home with frozen corn dogs and a laptop. So it's a thing. I really do think that it's a thing, and I think it's coming back around, and I do think that millennials are falling into the same trap. I'm considered a millennial as well. Just want to clear that up for anybody. I think that my generation is also falling into this trap of letting a screen raise your kids, giving them an iPad and leaving them alone. Bo Burnham talked about that in his Inside special. Well, he didn't talk about it. He sang about it. I guess he kind of talked about it. But letting a screen raise your kids, and I know that it's a tired argument, but for God's sakes, like, spend time with your kids. You know? I was very lucky in a sense that, like, I was left alone to my own devices, but if I needed my parents, they were there. And I think that's an important distinction. There's a lot of kids that go through issues that were raised by Xbox Live. You know, they played video games and they went to school, so they're literally being raised by other kids and a gaming service. And then they come home and they don't have their parents there, right? Like, my mom cooked meals, right? And I'm not even saying, like, oh, sit around the dinner table, because we didn't. She would at least make me food, though, right? And it showed that she knew that I existed because it made enough. She made enough for me, right? If I had a problem, I could go to my parents with said problem, you know? Were my parents the best parents? No. Did they do an okay job? Of course they did. And looking at a lot of other people, I think they did a fucking great job. And because of that, I can look at another woman and be like, I would freak the fuck out if my mother or my sister was treated the way that some of these women are treated. Right? And I don't think a lot of people have that. I think a lot of people and a lot of these losers in these fucking video game industries, they get into video games because that's what raised them. That's their quote-unquote passion because they don't have adults in their life that pay them enough attention. I'm not even talking about rich or poor, okay? Because you see it a lot in very, very wealthy families too, where the parents are just like, yeah, whatever, we bought you this thing, go fucking play with it. Go learn life by yourself. And so what do? You get online and you hear a bunch of people spout some racial slurs and some awful shit about women who you don't get to interact with very often because you, again, are raised by a video game service, so you don't understand how to talk to a woman like a person. So then you just fucking grow up that way, and that's how your brain is developed. You're trapped in this, like, adolescent, like, cycle. You still think like a fucking teenager. You know? Like mid-puberty teenagers. Mid-puberty males are it's so weird. Going through puberty is the weirdest fucking thing in the world. Okay? And I honestly believe that some of these dudes get trapped in that mindset. They're stuck when they're like, they see a boob and they turn into a fucking Neanderthal. They see a woman and they see nothing but a pair of tits and an ass. And it's just like the South Park episode where like Bebe, like, she like gets boobs before all the other girls in the class, and all the boys, every time they see Bebe, they just turn into cavemen, like their fucking foreheads like stick out, and they're like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." Like they can't fucking function. And like, I'm not sitting here saying that excuses any kind of like teenage male from anything. I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody because I fucking went through puberty. Everybody that I know went through puberty and wasn't out there like sexually assaulting and harassing women on a daily basis. No. Because again, people think about all sorts of shit, but they don't actually act on it, right? That's the difference between a rational human being and an irrational piece of shit. And I think these dudes that were raised on video games fucking had the worst mommy issues in the world, grow up, get a job in the industry, get a little bit of power over these women, and they can finally get back at mommy. And they take it out on their coworkers. They take it out on their subordinates or the people that work under them. And they just can't get out of that. Or, I mean, or it could also be like they didn't have a college life. Right? Like a lot of people go through like a quote unquote party phase sometime in your 20s usually. Typically it's in your early 20s, late teens, where you're out drinking, fucking, partying, doing drugs, like whatever it is that you need to do to get that shit out of your system. So that way, whenever you're fucking 30, you're either addicted to the things that you were doing, or you get tired of it and you're ready to grow and move on to the next phase of your life. And maybe that's why. Maybe these dudes just fucking never had that in their life. They probably never got fucking invited to anything because they're weirdos. Nobody wants the creepy one around. And everybody knows who they are. And nobody wants them around. So these dudes fucking put everything into their career, get to the top, and then fucking, or they're like, yeah, now it's time. You're 52 years old. Fucking relax. Drink some scotch. Watch a sitcom. Have a kid. Maybe don't do all this awful shit, you know, with people that you work with. Maybe don't. Maybe. I don't know. I kind of went off the rails a little bit, but I really do think that that's part of it. I think there's an issue with people being raised by other children on Xbox Live. I think that's a fucking problem. Whenever you have a kid, that kid doesn't need to become your life, but they need to be number one. And not in a spoiled way. I mean, you no longer get to do all the shit that you want to do. as unfortunate as that is, and as much as like modern society is like, you know, it's so against that, like you can still have your life. No, you can't. When you have a kid, no, you can't. That's how we wound up in this situation in the first place. That's how we wound up with a society full of fucking sociopathic weirdos, is because they fucking, their parents were not there. Their parents were not around to be like, hey, don't do that. Hey, you do that, you're going to get in trouble. That's how you learn not to do things, is you get in trouble for doing bad things. And whenever people don't get in trouble for doing bad things, guess what? They continue to do bad things. If the stove is hot, don't fucking touch the stove. People don't get that. They don't you learn consequences growing up. And then whenever you're an adult, hopefully you've learned enough to not do awful shit. Now, there's obviously always outliers. Again, whenever I say these things, I'm not speaking in sweeping generalizations. Okay? I'm talking on the people that this is happening to, right? There are people that grow up and their brain is just wired differently and they fucking do horrible things. But isn't it weird how every game company has these same issues? The same ones. The same exact sexual harassment, assault, fucking women being underpaid and mistreated in the workplace. Isn't it kind of crazy how they all have the same thing? And I think it's because all of these fucking weirdos went through the same schooling. They went through the same experiences in college, and they were probably raised very similarly in a fact that they grew up fucking sitting on Xbox Live while daddy got drunk in the living room and mommy packed up her shit and left. And I can say these things because I was raised in a single parent household. Lance, you're being insensitive to people who had a broken household growing up. No, I understand, because I was that kid. I don't try to fuck my coworkers. I don't get in group chats with other coworkers talking about fucking all of my coworkers. So I don't think I'm being insensitive. Especially not to those pieces of shit. I don't care about their feelings because clearly they didn't care about anybody else's feelings when they were doing these things. So no, I don't care. I don't care. It's fucking gross and it's sickening. Now, I didn't want to talk about the Blizzard lawsuit this entire time. I did just want to clear that up and get that off my chest. Everybody there is a piece of shit that is a part of this investigation. They all fucking suck, okay? I don't care about companies, and I don't understand brand loyalty or company loyalty. Why would you defend the company whenever they don't give a shit about you? And whenever these people that created the thing that you love, if you love World of Warcraft, you love you some fucking Call of Duty Warzone, right? The people that helped create these things that you love are being horribly mistreated and taken advantage of, and you're like, man, I'm sure they had a good reason. That's what business is. That's what business is. That's what Bill Clinton taught me. Yeah, get the secretary to suck my dick. Like, this is just kind of a one-off thing, but it kind of fits in the same realm as the weirdo losers that didn't really understand social situations. Ben Shapiro, there's a clip of him going around on Twitter talking about how people would call him a jerk because when he would get invited to parties, he would go to parties and he would bring a book with him just in case there wasn't anybody interesting to talk to. He'd bring a book and he'd read at the party. I cannot tell you how hysterical that is. Because first of all, I saw a comment that was very, very, just hit the nail on the head for me. He said, yeah, he probably brought a book because he couldn't find anybody that wanted to talk to him, and his ride wasn't ready to leave yet. So he sat outside and read his book. Which is just, that fucking nerd. Oh my God. Nobody brings books to parties, dude. And if you do, then don't go. Like, don't go. And my hypothesis is that I don't think he ever got invited to parties. I think this is in his head. Like, I think he probably was like, yeah, if I got invited to a party, I'd bring a book. What a loser. Nobody invited you to parties, Ben, okay? And the funniest part to me in that clip was, I'm not going to waste these 2 hours. What party do you go to that lasts 2 hours, dude? What party do you go to where it's 2 hours long? Especially a college party. College parties last way too long. Way too long, okay? It's not a fucking dinner party, okay? Dinner party, you go, you eat, you have a couple drinks, maybe some wine, and you leave, right? That's an adult party. That's a 2-hour party. If you guys have ever been to a college party, those things go on forever. They're way too long. They'll start at like 4 p.m., and then the shit isn't fucking done until like 2, 3 a.m. Whenever people want to go to Denny's and get food, they're like Ubering to Denny's. You got kids laying in a bathtub in their own throw up. Like, college parties are stupid. You'll get like whole weekends, like weekend long parties that start at Friday at 6 p.m. and don't end until Sunday, and they have to have everything cleaned up by Monday morning because it makes the campus look bad. They used to happen at University of Arkansas. There's this like weekend long party that they'll do that's on Fraternity Row. And they like put up fences around each like frat house and shit to block it from the street. They have big artists come and perform, like rappers and musicians and shit. And each frat has their own kind of like concert layout party, whatever. People just go up and down the row, like getting into places that they can get into, you know, and just get fucked up over the whole weekend. And by Monday morning, it's so clean that you would have never thought that a party existed. That's a college party. It's not 2 hours. I'm not wasting these 2 hours. I'm going to read my fucking book. I'm going to sit here and read. I'm going to read Tom Sawyer. So I can learn how to take advantage of people as an adult. Teach them how to paint some fences. I'm going to read my Tom Sawyer for 2 hours. No college party is 2 hours. And the fact that Ben said that just absolutely outed him as the dude that didn't get invited to parties. So now as an adult, he has to make up stories about how he brought a book to all the parties because people don't interest him. Knowledge interests him. My man has wall-to-wall bookshelves. Got a second house to store all of his books because of all of his knowledge about fucking Home Depot. Stupid. Such a stupid fucking video and such a stupid fucking idiot. He annoys me. Well, you see, I'd bring a book. I'd bring a book to read because these people don't interest me. Open your nose, Ben. Get some bass in there, dude. Probably started fucking... His balls probably never actually dropped. Like, literally, like, they're still inside of him. I know, like, the ball dropping thing is, like, a metaphorical thing. Like, your balls drop, your voice gets deeper. No, his balls have crawled up inside of him the older he's gotten. And then he sits there and he talks like this about his wife. His wife and her dry-ass puss and how her puss repulses him. My wife's pussy is like sandpaper, and that's the way I like it. It's the fucking Sahara out here. We have sex once a year. Such a fucking loser. I'm sorry. It just, oh, God. I want to bring a book. Nobody wanted you at their party, Ben. Yes, they did. They invited me. It was 2 hours long. We played Twister. Shut up. Oh, my God. Okay, let's move on. There was another thing I wanted to talk about. Somebody actually sent me a tweet from a comedian that they were trying to like ruffle feathers a little bit, I think, on Twitter. But I want to talk about this because I think this is an important distinction. They're basically saying like unpopular comedy opinions, right? And then they gave their own. They gave a couple of their own. First of all, this person like talked mad shit on George Carlin, which I don't really understand how you can call yourself a comedian, but not at least respect some of the things that George Carlin said. You don't have to like his stand-up or his style or anything, but the things that he said were not untrue. Not everything he said was completely true, but it's a comedy act. But a lot of the things that he was talking about, especially back then, and even coming into today, like, made a lot of fucking sense, and actually turned out to be very true in a lot of cases. Not every case, but a lot of cases, right? Talk some shit on George Carlin, and then also said that sketch comedy was extremely unfunny and was easy to do. I'm going to repeat that just so you guys can kind of grasp why I wanted to talk about this. He said that sketch comedy was extremely unfunny and was easy to do. And he's right. He's right. And I know a lot of people are like, but Lance, you do sketch comedy. I do. I do. And I can also recognize whenever there's a ton of garbage out. And I talked about this in the very first episode of the podcast. Sketch comedy has become quantity over quality. Things because of things like Vine, because of things like TikTok, because of the popularity of those things transitioning into YouTube, it has become how much garbage can I vomit up, okay? And you can see it everywhere. There's a lot of bad sketch comedy, okay? And a lot of it just has to do with people that don't know how to write jokes or format a joke or a punchline or anything, doing a sketch, and it doesn't really turn into a sketch as much as it is like, oh, he impersonated the thing, right? It's relatable because he impersonated that person pretty good. And so they don't know how to write anything, or they're just really bad actors. They don't know how to emote their face. They don't know how to change the tone of their voice. They don't know how to speak without it sounding written. Like, people, it's very clear there's some people that write their shit and then they speak it. They don't act it, they speak it in their sketches. It's very clear whenever people have trouble doing that. So there's a lot of garbage sketch comedy. Even people that have a huge following and they suck. Like, they might have one or two decent ones, but they fucking suck. In the grand scheme of quality, right? A lot of my sketches, I fucking hate. A lot of my sketches, some of the sketches that I have made that people really enjoy, I fucking hate them. Because I look at them and I'm like, I could have did that better. I should have done this. And that's my biggest distinction between sketch comedy and stand-up comedy. Because this person was a stand-up comic. Stand-up is this culmination of testing jokes over the course of months and sometimes years to get it just right. You test it all over the country, all over the world in some cases, in front of a wide range of audiences in different cities, and from people from all walks of life, and you test your jokes in front of all these people, and you change it and you tweak it, and it's like, what if I delivered this first instead of that? What if I tweak this punchline? What if I did this joke first and then it leads into this? There's all sorts of things that people do. They fucking flip their shit, reverse it, and they work on it, right? And then it becomes a good joke. And then through that, you can come up with a good set. But it takes months of preparation. And some comedians sit on material that they've written 2 years ago. And it's just not the right time. It doesn't fit in their set. Or maybe they just haven't gotten it right yet. And sometimes it's never right. And that's the difference in stand-up comedy and sketch comedy. Sketch comedy is meant for quick turnaround. It's created in some sketches are 15 seconds. Some of them are like 4 minutes. But it's meant to be quick turnaround scenarios that are meant to be ridiculous in a lot of senses. They're just meant to be fun. There's a reason that more people enjoy sketch comedy than they do stand-up comedy. And I know you're probably like, but Lance, that's not true. No, it kind of is. How many times have you heard a quote from one of your friends that came from a sketch. I'm going to name a couple for you. Caught in 4K. That came from an RDC World sketch that absolutely blew the fuck up. Ain't no laws when you're drinking claws. That came from a Trevor Wallace sketch that blew the fuck up. More people watch sketches than they do stand-up. Some people will never in their lives go to a stand-up show. They never in their lives will actually watch an entire hour-long comedy special. And that's just the way it is. They're different mediums. I really respect stand-up comedians, and I like doing it. But that's the difference. Sketch comedy is you make it and you put it out into the world. There's no testing. There's no going to 15 different clubs and doing the same sketch and letting them fucking react to it certain ways so you can gauge an audience and then twist it and then take the best reaction based off of that. There's none of that. You make it and you put it out there and you hope that people like it. You have one try. One. And that, I think, is the difference. Do I think that this person was right about sketch comedy being easy to do? Yes. It's very easy to do. Stand-up is easy to do. You grab a microphone, you go to an open mic, or you go to an open mic, grab a microphone, get on stage, and then just talk. And whether it's good or bad, you can do it. Same thing with sketch comedy. You have an editing program, which sometimes you can even do on your phone. Then yeah, it's easy to do. It's incredibly difficult to do well. And not every sketch is going to hit for every person. And I've been talking about this for a long time, trying to explain to people, whenever people say that somebody is not funny, in terms of, we use stand-up as an example, but this works for sketch comedy as well. If you don't want to be entertained, nothing is going to be funny. I can't make you laugh at a joke. No matter how well written the joke is, no matter how perfectly it's delivered, you won't laugh if you don't want to. And I know that because I've been in those moods before where I'll watch my favorite stand-up comic or my favorite sketch show or my favorite person that makes sketches on YouTube or something like that. And it'll be a great sketch. And I can look at it, recognize that that's a great sketch and that's a funny joke, but I won't visibly laugh. And whether it's my mood or my day or whatever, what I'm dealing with, if you don't want to laugh, you can shit on any joke ever. Doesn't matter. If you just look at it through like the eyes of a cynical person and like you're just like, that's bullshit. Because comedy is exaggerations with truth in them. So if you look at something and you're like, that's fucking stupid. That's ridiculous. That's not how it is. You're right. That's not how it is. Because it's a fucking comedy show or it's a sketch. So if you immediately go into something thinking I don't like sketch comedy and you watch a fucking sketch, you're going to be like, I could have made this. Then you're not going to like it. If you don't want to be entertained, I can't force you to be entertained. And you're right, sketch comedy is very easy to do, but it's very hard to do well, and it's very hard to have those sketches that last, that people can go back and rewatch, that they really hit different, that stick with people, that become like a cultural thing. Like, I've heard more quotes from sketch shows become parts of like the culture than I have stand-up, because stand-up is a very like, and I'm going to be honest here, stand-up comics are elitist as fuck. There's so many stand-up comics that think because they play a club a couple nights a week that they're the shit, and they really get it and they understand it. It's like, dude, you shut the fuck up, okay? Shut the fuck up. It's like, you're not funny. You get on stage and you've rehearsed some material and some jokes and you've done it, and I can respect that. But if you're like elitist over that, shut the fuck up. And like how many Dave Chappelle sketches, whether you like them or not, how many Dave Chappelle sketches have become quoted to death? Charlie Murphy. Like, I'm Rick James. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Fucking even if you want to go to like Saturday Night Live and talk about Will Ferrell and his shit and a fucking more cowbell. I need more cowbell. Like, I'm talking like quotes and things that have been done in sketch comedy that have become phenomenons in terms of everyday life and in terms of like random, like adults and kids quoting it. That's the shit that I'm talking about the impact between the two and how you can do them, but to do them well is a very different thing. And to make something that lasts, like, I don't understand how you can just generalize it's very easy to do, because that is the dumbest shit that I've ever heard, but he is right. It's dumb as fuck, but he's still right. It is easy to do. But I think you need to respect the fact that anybody can do it, but not everybody has an audience, and not everybody will ever build an audience doing it because they fucking suck at it. It's the exact same with stand-up comedy. There's a lot of people that do stand-up comedy that do it, and they do it just well enough in their little small pocket that they have an audience and they can quote-unquote do it, but they're not really funny. They're mediocre as fuck, but they become like this weird elitist, and they go around and they tell everybody that they're a comic and they're a comedian. And it's like, dude, okay. You're a comic in the same way that I'm a basketball player because I play at the YMCA. That's the thing. You're a comic in the same way that I'm a Twitch streamer because I downloaded OBS and I do stream on Twitch. Does that make me a good streamer? No. Do I have people that watch? Sure. Do I still think that the shows suck? Yes. I thought it was really interesting. And again, it was a fucking tweet that was meant to like kind of, do things like this, get people to talk about it. But I see that distinction all the time where people don't really give sketch comedy the respect. And never get no respect. They don't really give it the respect that it deserves because of the fact that it has become so saturated and so disgustingly overdone in the form of very short form like Vines and TikToks and even YouTube Shorts now. And it's just like, it's people that are obviously cashing in, right? Like, especially people that start to pick up traction on something like YouTube. You can make a lot of money if your videos, let's say your videos are getting 50,000 to 100,000 views a video, right? And you make 4 of those in a week. That's $1,000 a week that you're making from little fucking sketches that you throw together in fucking 30 minutes. But I don't know. That's all I got to talk about for today. Thank you so much for listening or watching, however it is that you are doing this. I just wanted to clear up some of the Blizzard stuff specifically, and then there was a couple other things that I just kind of wanted to talk about. And I do think that good sketch comedy needs to get some respect, whereas bad sketch comedy should be recognized as bad sketch comedy and should be ridiculed as such. That's don't fuck with people. Just let them do what they want to do, but you don't have to watch it if you don't like it, right? That's all I got. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode, all right?